You're watching the Batter Fans Network.
Welcome to episode number 2 of our 6-part series. We're doing 30 teams, 30 guests, 6 shows, 4 nights, and this is our second show. We already did 5 Eastern Conference teams. We're now starting with the West Coast, the bottom 5 of the West Coast last year. So let's see if anybody plans on getting out of the basement. So we're going to start off with KC. Where you at, KC? There you are. What's going on, David? How are
What's
you
up?
doing, sir?
Dale, what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm here living the dream, man. I wanted to talk a little KC. We've did it already a couple times on this series. We asked in 60 seconds or less, could you summarize the 2025 season? Most people managed to do it in like 20 because obviously we started with the bad teams. But hey, you got 60 seconds to go. What's going on with KC in 2025?
I'll do it in 2 languages. Basura, trash. We sucked. So we finished second from the bottom in MLS, last in the West. We fired our coach. He'd been our coach since 2009. He'd coached 600 games for us. We started the season with 0 wins, 7 losses, and a draw. We lost to FIU. We lost to FIU in the preseason. It was
Yeah,
awful.
I remember that. Yeah,
It was nothing good.
yeah, no, and I don't know why he stayed around for so long. I mean, I guess consistency can be good, but at some point maybe they waited a little too long. You guys, like you said, 15th last in the West. You allowed 70 goals, 7 wins,
Yeah.
7 draws, 20 losses. Just not
So
good overall.
I got a stat for you. So American Soccer Analysis had us. It is historic what our expected goal differential was. It's the worst expected goal differential in the history of American Soccer Analysis for the league. I think it was like negative 28. We were so bad.
All right. Well, when you're that bad, some things need to change. Obviously, the coach changed. Were there any key departures? Maybe addition by subtraction?
So we moved on from 13 players. Most of them were bad. So it's tough to say there was a key departure. Eric Tommy is probably the most notable guy that we moved on from. He was out of contract. He's with LA Galaxy now. But he was coming off the bench. He wasn't even starting for us, but had been kind of a playmaker throughout the years. And then Logan Ndembe had been a starting left back. He had been a U22 player. He also moved on. But I mean, we dumped half the roster. None of them good though.
And any key, well, obviously you had some additions if you lost 13 people.
You know, it's funny you say that. The answer is actually no. No additions. So we signed Steven Cleveland, who's a backup keeper. We've got 4 goalkeepers. We signed some free agents from MLS. We traded Chicago for Justin Reynolds, who might end up being a starting right back. He's in competition for it. We got some draft picks. We're linked to some guys, but no, as of right now, we got nothing. We added nothing.
Rough so far. So obviously you've been same overall head figure for 15, 16 years. What can we expect from Sporting KC tactically this year? Maybe we're going to see something new as far as a formation or just the tactics in general.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to say. So we fired Vermees. He was known for running that 4-3-3, really heavy possession-based system. We played almost too slow in our build-up, which is part of some of the problems we had. We've now got Raphael Wicki, who he'd coached with Chicago Fire a few years ago. He'd most recently been in Switzerland with BSC Young Boys. It's tough to say what position, like what formation we'll play, what tactics we'll play. If I had to guess, maybe a 4-2-3-1, but it's kind of unclear what his tactics are going to be. You know, he says the same thing that all coaches say, right? We want to play out of the back. We want to play attractive attacking soccer. And,
right.
You know, we've got 12 guys on the roster right now. I think, we've got 5 forwards. Like it's so, the roster's so weak right now.
Within the year.
Yeah, who's to say what we're going to actually even be able to do? It's tough.
All right. So let's see if we could have some here, because I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this. because I think there's only one player that's even rated on your team. Most overrated player on Sporting KC.
So I've got 3 options for you here.
All right. I
so-
wasn't expecting that.
So we've got a designated player, Manu Garcia. He's our playmaking midfielder. To me, he's our most overrated player. Manu's a very good player, but when we're talking about a designated player, when we're talking about like a 10, like a playmaking midfielder, he is not like a championship winning midfielder. He's not pulling the strings. I mean, everybody's kind of Messi light in this league other than Messi
Right.
himself. But, you know, there's all those other playmaking 10s all around the league. Manu's just kind of a step down from them. He's not elite. He's just very good. But then we've also got Daniel Shallowy on the left wing and Shapi Suleimanov on the right wing. And Sporting KC fans really like Shapi because he was an addition last year. We actually got a 2-for-1 deal when we picked up Manu Garcia. But Shapi is trash. He's got 1 foot. He scored, I think, like 1 goal. The dude is just cooked. But I mean, like you said, we got 1 player who's rated, so it's tough to kind of say who's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would just be. I think it'd be hard for people to name more than 1 player on your team.
I think, I mean, Daniel Shallowy's been around for a long time. Dejan Joveljic is good. Manu Garcia is like, if you're following the league, those are the 3 guys that you would know.
All right. Well, for people that don't watch KC on a regular basis, but they could just randomly tune in and they're like, maybe you should just look out for this guy. Who would that guy be? Who would you say, hey, take a look at this guy because he might pop out at you? It's not Shabby.
So no, it's not Shabby's so trash. It is Dejan Joveljic. So he's our striker. He scored 18 goals, 2 assists last year. Like was in the Golden Boot fight for most of the season. He is actually legit. Like he's probably too good for MLS. Certainly our best player by far. We spent like $4 million getting him from LA last year.
Right, and then Galaxy fans all say that that they couldn't afford to keep him for whatever reason. So you guys lucked out with him, but I mean, I don't know if anybody really. That's the guy.
That's the only guy.
Most people are right. All right. Going into the season, expectations, and then your prediction. Will they meet those expectations? Like, what are the fans expecting this year?
So expectations couldn't be lower. So meeting expectations is pretty easy. We actually just did our podcast, The Shades of Blue, just did our season prediction show like right before I came on here. And, we all are pretty much expecting us to be fighting for the last in the West, trying to not get the wooden spoon. I'm hoping we're going to get like 1 spot above last. I'm predicting maybe 14th, 13th in the West would be good. Rumors that we are going to be bringing some guys in, rumors that we'll bring in more in the summer window and, maybe could do something, make a late run, but I don't think anybody's expecting Sporting to make the playoffs this year and maybe not even next.
So we're really far removed from those Ronaldo rumors from a couple of years ago.
Thank God. I mean, thank God. But yeah, we're pretty far removed from bringing in a 41-year-old who's dominating the Saudi league. He's
not dominating it. That's the sad part.
I mean, he keeps telling me how much better he is than Pele. And as a Brazilian, it just, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. And we're all battered fans. At one moment or another, I'm sure you had a moment where you're like, how the hell did this happen? So what is that battered moment for you as a KC supporter where you're like, what the F?
So you remember LA Galaxy were awful last year, right? Like they one of the statistically like the worst defending champion in the league history.
Yeah, that was a crazy fall off.
Early in the year, we beat them 1-0. We didn't even take a shot. I
remember that.
We scored on an own goal.
Yes.
And that was like a highlight of the year. And then later in the year, playing this just absolutely washed shell of a championship team, they beat us 4-1. So I'd say that was probably the low moment in time for us.
Yeah, I remember that. We had a conversation about that on our show for a while. That's the first time in history that, at least in the MLS, that a team wins the game without taking a shot on goal, which is crazy.
It was wild.
So, yeah.
It was wild.
Well, David, much appreciated for joining us. Let everybody know where they can find you if they want more Kansas City Sporting KC talk.
Yeah, so kcsoccerjournal.com, the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. It's our podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. I appreciate you guys having me on. If I don't know if any of your fans remember me, but I'm a University of Miami alum. It's all about the U. Love you guys. I'm going to go pound some Cafe Bustelo and drown my sorrows.
There you go. Well, hey, keep living the dream. We were talking about that before we got on here.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good one.
Take it easy.
All right. Well, that was David with Sporting KC. Obviously, like I said, we're starting this off the bottom of the tables. So maybe not a lot of optimism coming, but we'll see if that changes. Now we're gonna go over to St. Louis with my guy Chris from St. Louis Soccer. What's going on, Chris? How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Daniel. How are you?
I'm living the dream. All right. So, Chris, it's been a lot of doom and gloom tonight. We started with the 5 bottom teams in the East. We're moving over to the 5 bottom teams in the West. I'm curious if you could, in 60 seconds or less, just give us a recap of the 2025 season for St. Louis.
Failed coaching hire in Olaf Melberg, who was brought in to kind of stabilize things after the dismissal of Bradley Carnell midway through 2024. He seemed completely disinterested in coaching in the MLS from day one. So they got off to a terrible start. They could not score. João Klaus was in a scoring slump. And basically the Melberg experiment was a complete disaster. After that, they were led by David Critchley, interim head coach, who was working with the Next Pro team. Played a little bit better as the season went on, but still not a consistent enough defense and offensive performance in order to climb into the playoffs. So once again, for the second straight year, missing the playoffs and disappointing the fans.
And it had to have hurt that much more when you see the Philadelphia Union do what they did with Bradley Carnell.
It did. I mean, not as much as you would think. There wasn't this, kind of, woe is me. There was a lot of issues that led to Carnell's dismissal. And it was a lot of stuff that was happening off the field. And some of that stuff, if people knew the whole story, I think they would be like, okay, we kind of understand why you don't necessarily have this pining for Bradley Carnell. So
that's fair.
And also they're in the East, right? And so had it been another Western team, that'd have been different, but we're kind of removed from it over in the East. So, or them being in the East. So it wasn't that big of a deal. So
and then Chris is chiming in, and Vasilev. Nobody cares about Vasilev. All right,
your buddy.
Yeah. All right. So key departures. I'm sure that there's a glaring one that comes to the forefront. What are the key departures for St. Louis this offseason?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when you had me on. Obviously, the biggest one is João Klaus. That's our franchise's leading scorer. In the short 3 years they've been around, he's our leading goal scorer, who's now in LA. And so he obviously leads the departures as far as the most recognizable names. Mm-hmm. But there's a few other ones that have been important. Henry Kessler, a guy who played very, very well when he was healthy. Unfortunately, he just couldn't stay healthy for us. The other two guys who were in exactly the same situation, when they played, they were pretty good, couldn't stay healthy. And that was Rasmus Holm and Joachim Nielsen. Joachim Nielsen was brought in to be our, the anchor of our center back. And Rasmus Holm was one of the unsung heroes of the first season that we had. And he was kind of the hidden MVP, honestly. When he got hurt towards the end of the year, their offense went straight in the tank. Like they didn't know what to do without him. He was so good on the press, and he keyed a lot of things that they did. And a lot of people didn't really know who he was. And after that first season, he couldn't stay on the field. And so you're talking about, Klaus has had some injury problems as well, but those three guys in Kessler, Nielsen, and Alm really just couldn't stay healthy. And so those four guys are the big names that are no longer with the team. So.
Any big additions?
Yeah, so we have not only on the field but also in the front office, and a new sporting director in Corey Ray, who has spent time in Columbus and Montreal, and is a very young guy and is looking to kind of bring some youthful energy to the front office and beyond. We also have a brand new head coach in Yohan Demay, a guy who is basically 35 years old and has been coaching for 20 years. And you can say, well, wait a minute, that means he started coaching when he was like 15 or 16. True story. He did. He actually started coaching when he was that young in France. And so he's been an assistant at multiple MLS destinations, and is a guy who is trying to bring a little bit of that Columbus, ball possession and high offensive pressing style. We'll see how that works without the roster of players like Columbus has in order to do that. That's going to take a little time, and they're going to have to build that, and bring a kind of overall rehaul to the team and rebuilding the team. But the guys they've brought in, you're talking about people like Daniel Edelman from, who you guys know, being in the East with the Red Bulls, and Lucas McNaughton is a guy who they're looking to hopefully bring in, and he was a trialist who they just signed, and a guy that if he can stay healthy is a potential option in the center back position. Rafael Santos, who most recently in Orlando, is a guy that they are finally hoping to solve their conundrum of what they do at left backs. We've gone through about a dozen left backs in 3 years, and that's not exaggerating. It's been a revolving door there, and he's a guy that, while not necessarily the strongest defensive player in the world, has a cannon for a left foot and is going to provide some offense on the left wingback position. So he's a guy that we're excited to get in and see what he can do in St. Louis and hopefully stabilize that left side. And then the two big ones are probably Mbake Fall, who's coming from Barcelona. He was formerly in MLS with LAFC, a guy who is a very dynamic offensive center back, very good at playing long balls, extremely good in the air and on set pieces. He's 6'2" and can just jump, out of the gym, as they would say. And so he's going to bring a dynamic kind of heading attack on set pieces that they've never had before. And then the last guy is, ironically, a guy who we acquired from our former sporting director in Lutz Pfannenstiel in Aberdeen, in Dante Polvera, a guy who had played mostly center mid over there. He's going to play center back for us. We don't really know how well he can defend as a center back, but man, he looks good on the ball. So, he is clearly a midfielder, ball level, ball skills, playing center back. And if he can defend even decently well, they're going to have a pretty dynamic center back combination with Mbake Fall, Falu Fall, who they picked up last year, and Polvera and Timo Baumgartel. That's four guys that they can, rotate in for 3 spots. And so, with the additions, I think they're addressing some of the problems and some of the issues that we had last year.
Okay, so they upgraded on the back line. Are you guys going to be playing the counter a lot more, do you think, this year?
Well, the thing that they haven't done, notice what I didn't mention, was anything to do with offense. We lost Klaus. There has been no movement, no discussion, no talk about anybody coming in his place. We have a game in 6 days, and our starting striker is Simon Betcher. That's not the recipe for a very successful season. And we like Simon. He's a SLU grad. He's a kid who played here in college, and we like him. But then he's the king of XG. He creates a lot of opportunities. It's just his problem is he doesn't convert them. And we are extraordinarily thin at striker. If Betcher's your number 1 and Cedric Teuchert is your number 2, who's not even really a number 9, but he kind of doesn't have a place to play. That's the thing is I think St. Louis fans have to understand, like a lot of other clubs you probably talked to tonight, this is a building process, and this is just the beginning of it. And so I know Corey Ray has already talked about, hey, we are going to be as aggressive as we can right now, but we're not going to be able to fix everything in the winter. We're going to have to rely on the summertime window, the summer transfer window. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like Dennis says, it's going to be rough sledding. I completely agree. And I think, unlike the past couple of years where we went in with optimism of, okay, we think we're going to be a pretty decent, maybe mid-table playoff team. I think this year, any playoff spot would be a massive surprise and would be, a pleasant surprise, because I think most fans in St. Louis are kind of braced for the worst, especially with the lack of offense that we can kind of see coming. So
I'm gonna just call an audible right now and just ask you a question real quick because
sure,
I saw
anything.
something in the comments, so I want to bring that up. We had a show where we talked about the new kits. Now, for those that aren't aware, it was announced that there's going to be new kits coming out next February. But when the season starts in the summer, right, because it's going to be a switching calendar,
Mhm.
there will not be a new kit. So those kits that release for 2026, they're going to use those kits until summer of 2028.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I like the Tina Turner kit, but some other people disagree. I believe that was David that was just with us, and then I got Chris here. What are your thoughts on the Tina Turner kit?
Well, you happen to have maybe one of the most vocal haters of that kit on right now.
Okay, good. That's what I like.
I know a lot of the people in the front office, not very well, but have met them, and I certainly respect the amount of work it takes to come up with any kind of kit, right? It's a lot that goes into it.
Especially an original kit. Thinking
Yes,
outside the box.
I do not like. So here's the thing. Here's my biggest issue with it.
All right, let's go.
If you think if you're on the fence and you decide or you think, okay, I don't really like it, look at it with the shorts and then you'll really hate it. That's the problem.
I haven't seen it with the shorts.
Yeah. So you're talking about a shiny gold kit, right?
Uh-huh.
But the pants, or not pants, the shorts are matte. So they're not shiny. And it's that Adidas thing where just like with the men's team jersey this year, it's the back is a different kind of texture and color.
Yeah.
The back of the jersey is matte gold and it's almost like a sand tan color. And so it's shiny in the front and matte in the back, and then the shorts are matte. And so what I think would have helped. So a lot of us have an issue with the fact that it's gold and black, which is not our colors. That's LAFC's colors, right? And so I think had they swapped it out and said, okay, we're going to do gold with blue. Blue is one of our colors. You have our logo up right now, right? And so that would have at least kind of helped, I think.
Yeah.
But if you look at what Orlando did with their Sunken Treasure kit, right, which is also gold, it's more of a yellow gold. But they went with yellow and then purple shorts. And I think we would have been better served to have had, if you're going to go with that gold kit, if you're going to stick with black, okay, just have black shorts, just offset it. But trust me, if you look up and see what the shorts look like with it, it's not a good look. And so
I've only seen the shirt and I liked it. I liked it because I liked the originality. I'm all for those weird kits. And I didn't even know Tina Turner was from St. Louis, but I liked it. But I know I'm one of the few.
She is and she isn't. She was not born here. She was born in Tennessee. And she moved here and went to high school here. And so, there was a lot of, people don't want to say, well, you're not from St. Louis enough. We don't want to get into that argument, but, and there are other artists from here that may have made sense or other things they could have celebrated. My biggest thing, was like, if you're going to do something St. Louis, as a tribute to St. Louis or as a tribute to someone from St. Louis, to me, it's the 100th anniversary of Route 66 is this year, and St. Louis played a major part. Route 66 goes right through St. Louis. We played a major part in the development of that famous road, and it would have made sense to do something for the 100th anniversary of it. And we didn't. Instead, we did something that would have kind of made more sense if we ever get a women's team, and if we ever get an MWSL team, it would have made more sense. But the one thing, like I said, is if people like it, that's fine. If they don't like it, that's fine. I'm in the don't like it, camp. But again, I think that if you see it with the shorts, I think there'll be a lot more people who are like, "Ooh, yeah, no, that's not great." So,
all right, we're getting back to it. Damn, I was hoping I was gonna have somebody on my side. All right, most overrated player on the team, and why is it Berkey? No, I'm joking. Who's the most overrated player on the team?
Guess what? You're right. It is.
Oh, you think Berkey's overrated? Okay.
Well, it's not that he's
overrated.
Overrated. It's
okay.
again, we signed him to another DP contract, and
Yeah, goalie
that's
DPs are terrible, man.
when they announced it, everybody was excited. They announced it for before the last game of the season last year. They had a video clip that started off as kind of okay, is this a goodbye because his contract was up, and the
Mhm.
way the video started, it was like, okay, is this a hey, best of luck, Roman, because you're going somewhere, and then at the end of the video, he's like, no, I'm staying, I'm resigning, and whatever. And so I think initially everyone, at least of the soccer sicko people here in St. Louis, the reaction was, okay, it's great that we re-signed him as long as he's not a DP. And then they announced, oh yeah, he's going to be a DP. And they haven't announced if he's going to be buy downable, to make up a phrase.
With
But
the
Tom
game.
Bogert a few weeks ago indicated that he doesn't think he's going to be. And so now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, are we going to waste a DP slot, and on a goalie again, and so
No,
he's
you
a
can't
good
do that.
player. He wasn't as good last year as he was the year before, and he
Mhm.
wasn't that good as he was in his first year. So, he's still a very good MLS goalie.
For sure.
But the resources you're dedicating to him, I would much rather say, okay, we're going to come with an unproven goalie, or even our backup, Ben Lute, who played last year because Berkey was hurt and played pretty
He
well.
played
He's not a
well.
very good
Yeah, he
ball
played well.
distributor, but
Yeah.
he played well in goal from a shot stopping perspective. I would have rather taken the money and said, yeah, okay, we're going to go spend on a striker to replace Klaus, because overall, I think you're a better team that way. And
I think
so
in the MLS, you can't give, especially in my opinion, you can't give it to a keeper, and I wouldn't give it to anybody on the back line, to be honest with you.
it's got to be a really special player,
It
a
does, but
very special player to make it
and
a DP, because the DP slots are so rare, and so
yeah,
they're so
you need to be impact.
valuable. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in Miami, you guys have like 14 DP slots. I don't know how that works, but so they're not
Watch
rare
our
to you, but
preview show.
everywhere else they're rare to
Watch,
us. So,
watch the preview show. We'll explain it.
yeah.
All right. So for those that don't watch St. Louis on a regular basis, and maybe they come across the game during this season,
And why
is
would
there,
you, honestly, right now?
if you by some chance you just accidentally do,
Stumble on, you press the wrong button on your remote. Yeah.
is there a team, a player that you would say, look out for this guy? He has potential. You might hear more about him in the future.
Well, that was the one thing I saw your question sent ahead of time, and I didn't know if you meant somebody that people might not know yet, or people
Well,
that
either way,
they do know.
because I don't
So
think
the
you have
best
many
player we
options
have,
anyway.
our best player by far is Marcel Hartl. It's not close.
Oh yeah, of course.
He is one of the highest work rate guys in the entire league.
I think he led the league in minutes last
He
year.
did, yeah. He's an absolute horse. He's awesome. And I'm disappointed that we haven't surrounded him with more, because he's a guy that, if you put the right pieces around him, people would see just how awesome he is. And sometimes he gets stuck trying to do everything, and it's not fair to him. So he's the guy. He's our best player. If you want to say somebody to kind of keep an eye out for that you may not know, then it's Dante Polvara. It's the guy we brought over from Aberdeen in Scotland, who was the Herman Award winner as College Player of the Year a few years ago, which we give that award is awarded in St. Louis. It's a St. Louis-based trophy. And Polvara is a guy, again, like I said, he's tall. He's like 6'4". He's very good with the ball. He's physical. And if he can play defense, then, they're looking at a guy that will make us miss Henry Kessler a little less, because Kessler was a really great guy to have here in town, and he was kind of a fan favorite. And Polvara is a guy I think that if he plays defense well, will make a name for himself really quickly.
All right.
So
Now,
sorry to throw two at you. So.
No. I much prefer that. I enjoy that. All right. Expectations going into this season from a fan's perspective, it's been doom and gloom all night. So
I'm sure.
so it's okay if it's it's more of the same. But expectations and then prediction. Do you think that they'll meet those expectations? Like, what are the expectations from the fans this year?
So the expectations, I don't think, are very high. Because again, this is just the start of a building process. The other problem with the beginning of this season is, based on our schedule, it is an absolute nightmare for the first 14 games of the year.
Really?
It is based on the points per game of the teams from last year, we have, I think, the third hardest schedule in the league for the first 14 games. So we're playing like Seattle twice and LAFC, and it's awful. And so the issue has been in the past 2 years, we've had such terrible starts that you get so far behind the 8 ball to try to chase points. And, it's hard to do that when you're having to climb over 5 or 6 teams, like to get into a mid-table position even, or 3 or 4 teams just to get in the playoff position. So, I think that the expectation is that we're going to find out real quick if they're able to stay competitive, if they're able to score enough goals, and there was not a lot of enthusiasm yesterday when we found out that the final closed door scrimmage we had in Coachella was a 3-1 loss to DC United, which we all know how bad they were.
Yeah.
So I think the expectations are not high. So I think people, for the first time though, I think they're like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be good, but there's a reason, and it's going to take a little time to rebuild this thing into, hopefully a sustainable,
and you're predicting that they won't be good.
Prediction wise, I'm saying, like, I was on a pod earlier today with some other friends here in St. Louis, and we did prediction guesses, whatever. I am notoriously bad at this. I have been on with you guys, and I think I picked them 6 last year when we were out, not in the playoffs. I think I picked them 4th 2 years ago, and we were not in the playoffs. I'm picking them 10th this year. I think that I think what will probably wind up happening is they get buried early because of the hard schedule and the lack of offense. They go out and get a striker and improve their offense in the summer transfer window, but it's a little too late. And so I think they wind up being a fringe playoff team, but just out. So,
okay. And I've been doing this with every guest that comes on. We're all battered fans at the end of the day. And now I know that your history is a lot shorter, and you guys got off to a hot start, very first season. So is there a battered moment for you? And I'll give you an example, right? Because my fandom, just not even into my, like, in fandom, in sports in general, I'm a baseball fan, I'm a Yankee fan. My most battered moment in my sports life was Game 7, 2001 World Series. Mariano Rivera, greatest reliever of all time, blows the save. Luis Gonzalez gets the game-winning hit. Yankees lose what I felt should have been the World Series championship after 9/11. To me, that is the moment that I think hurt me the most as a sports fan. Do you have a battered moment in your St. Louis City fandom?
Just city, just soccer.
Well, let's do 2. You can give me 2.
Okay. Wow. That's so I don't know if there's a specific moment in a game as far as city. I think crashing out of the playoffs against Sporting in the first year against Kansas, I think was that's been obviously the biggest disappointment from a city perspective was the success we had in the first year, and then to just completely collapse down the stretch and then play probably our worst 2 games of the year against your biggest rival,
Right.
And so that's been the hardest one from a city perspective for sure, was kind of laying that egg in the playoffs, and we've still never won over there, which is getting to be a massive frustration for, the fans. And we travel very well over there. We fill basically 1/4 of that stadium with City Red. And
Really?
it's, the pictures of it do it justice, honestly, because there's basically one corner of that stadium will turn completely red for that game. And we've gotten ties over there, but we have yet to win. And so it's something that we're desperately hoping, especially this year, like, we're not going to be good, but they're really not going to be good. And so, maybe this is finally the year. As far as another battered moment in just my St. Louis fandom of any sport, we've had a bunch, but there is none in my lifetime that hurt me as much as the blown call in Game 6 of the 1985 World Series, the famous Don Deckinger call at first base. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it is the single worst call in the history of American sports. It cost the Cardinals a World Series and basically a dynasty.
Did you guys have you guys have plenty of World Series.
We do. We had 11. We have 11 now, but we should have 12. And so, yes, if you are not familiar with Game 6 and the Don Denkinger call, a St. Louis resident, by the way, Don Denkinger, and he was, he's no longer alive, but the single worst call in the history of American sports, and it's, to me, as soon as any league said we think about having instant replay, I have always been very much in favor of instant replay because I would rather get the call right. And I see Sean says not losing the greatest show on turf. Losing the team, yes. I mean, I'm old enough to have lost 2 NFL teams because I was around during the Cardinals days, and so that's not really a moment. And also, we were prepared for that for about 3 years because we knew that they were being intentionally tanked to kill attendance in order to justify them leaving. So yeah, that hurts. And people still needle St. Louis for that when it really wasn't our fault. And so that was a pure money thing that the league was like, hey, we can make more money in LA. And so they took our team and they allowed San Diego to move. So so we have a history of some painful moments. But yeah, as far as city goes, it's definitely the KC thing. And the Cardinals thing, again, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about because you're too young, look up Game 6, 1985. The call in the 9th inning with 1 out, is about as bad as it can get. And for me at the time, being a little kid, I was devastated, and it still hurts, and it's still something that stinks to think about.
Yeah.
So,
well, sorry to make you relive that, but
oh, that's okay. I'm sure there's going to be, part of being a fan is you suffer through the bad in order to get to the good, right?
Absolutely, and that's what makes it all the sweeter.
I'm a Blues fan. We suffered for over 50 years before we finally got our Stanley Cup in 2019, and so, I mean, it's the same thing, and St. Louis soccer fans are have had a roller coaster, not only with MLS and City, but also with St. Louis FC and some of the other
Blues.
Who
was it? The Bruins?
Yes, in Game 7. Yes, in
Boston.
Which felt good because there's been more of a recent rivalry with a lot of Boston teams. We played them in the World Series a few times and lost to them, twice in the World Series. We obviously had the Rams Patriots.
2004 will live with me forever.
Yeah, and that was so, it's crazy because I've been alive now for 2 Cardinals World Championships in 2011. Actually 3, 2011, 2006 and 82. I was a little kid in 82. But that 04 team that the Cardinals had was the best team of my lifetime. And any Cardinals fan who's alive for all those would tell you the same thing. If you look at that lineup with, Edmonds and Roland and Pujols and it was just monsters. And they were awesome all season and just hit a slump at the exact wrong time, and
I know.
Every team goes through a slump, and that whole year they never slumped. And then they got to the World Series and just everything that could go wrong went wrong. So, and then a far less good team 2 years later in 06 won the World Series, and that team wasn't anywhere as good as 04. So
it's when you get hot.
Playoffs are always weird.
Yeah, it's when you get hot. Chris, appreciate you taking the time. Please let everybody know where they could find you if they want more St. Louis City talk.
Sure. St. Louis City or MLS, content creators. We have a huge list and we try and maintain that to make sure that you can connect with information from around the league. It's stlsoccernews.com or X, Blue Sky, all the socials, STL Soccer News. So
much appreciated, Chris. And I appreciate those battered moments with me, and we'll be in touch.
Hey, thanks, Daniel. It's great. Anytime you have me on, and I appreciate it. So enjoy the start of the season.
Likewise. All right. Now, just cut him off. All right. Now, moving on. Over further west, here we go. Joining Colorado Rapids, my guy Mitchell from Com City. What's going on, Mitchell? How are you doing, sir?
Daniel, it's great to see you, buddy. It's great to see you.
Man.
Happy to be back, ready to talk some PIDs. We're close. We're a week away.
Yeah, man. Less than a week away.
And we play Sunday, so I'm going to give myself a week to say we're back.
Oh, there you go. That's true. I enjoy, obviously, one of the purposes we do this is to try to aim people to to the local content creators for each team. You're not going to find a better studio than Mitchell's. I love your background always when I come on with you. And but I just wanted to say that real quick, just because I always enjoy having you on, and I kind of just start staring at your back. All right,
I got some good ones, man. I've tried real hard to collect these.
Yeah, man,
we're doing pretty good. I need a Raptors
awesome.
little action figure now. I got most of the Colorado sports here, but
was that Alice English?
I got Fat Lever. I got Larry Walker. I got two John Elways. I got a Rashawn Salam. Got a Larry Walker. Oh yeah,
Fat Lever is one of my favorite names when I play that. Just randomly naming names of random sports. That's my go-to right there.
Yeah.
All right. So 2025 Colorado Rapids in 60 seconds. Just summarize the season for us.
About as frustrating a season as you could ever hope for. And really, it's more. It even dates just a little bit further back to post Leagues Cup in 24. They had the big run in 24 in Leagues Cup, ended up getting third, getting a CONCACAF spot, and then down the stretch they lose. It's a 9-1 series loss to Galaxy, and then it seemed like that high flying offense and that pressing defense just kind of fell off, and there was a lot of frustrating losses, and they had a chance to get into the playoffs and lost on the road consecutively to Galaxy and Kansas City. And that, and they had some nice wins along the way, and there were some good goals from Georgie, and you got to go to the Olympics and all that stuff. And then that's kind of emblematic of it, is when they needed to beat the two worst teams in the league, they couldn't do it, and that's why they're out of the playoffs.
And you brought him up, key departures. Mihailovic is probably one of my favorite players in the league to watch. It was such a huge loss. I know it wasn't this offseason, but still a huge loss. What are the key departures this offseason?
Cole Bassett. I mean, right? That's the Colorado kid. That he's the homegrown, definitely the best homegrown in team history.
Was that a surprise, or was that expected?
It was a surprise. It was definitely a surprise. Okay. You combine that with losing Oliver Larraz, another homegrown midfielder who had broken into the first team after like a best 11 next pro season, or the equivalent, right? He was one of the best, and he goes too, and you lose these two homegrown midfielders, two fan favorites. It's really tough. You also lose Calvin Harris on the wing, who wasn't their draft pick, but sort of like a second draft where they pick him up, pretty early in his career and kind of revive him. And he had his moments, but you lose like a veteran on the wing. And then it seems crazy because he was only there for, I think he only played like 7 or 8 games, but Rafael Santos came over from Orlando City at the end of the window in the summer and was just electric. They got him for like $100K in GAM, something dirt cheap. Didn't cost very much to employ. And he was just creating moments left and right all over the place. He was exciting to watch, and they let him go. And, I think they do have a pretty expensive backline, so it kind of makes sense. But honestly, that might be the hardest, not the hardest one. Cole Bassett's definitely the hardest one, like from the fans and someone who's, who's very prideful in Colorado athletes playing for Colorado teams. But they lost a lot of definitely they lost some sauce in Santos and just lost a lot of heart in the club in Larraz and Bassett.
Were there any key additions?
Absolutely. They did some business last year that the contracts and the players aren't coming in until the winter. So that's Lucas Harrington. He's a center back out of Australia. And he already has like almost 30 first team club appearances. He turns 19 in July. He's a young kid. He's a giant. He's like 6'4", 6'5", big athletic kid. So he's coming in. He already had a nice header on a corner in preseason in Orlando City. So he's pretty exciting. He's kind of one of those guys that's like surprised that he ended up in Colorado, because other teams were looking at him, bigger clubs, to get him and loan him away and bring him back when he reaches his potential. The Rapids can kind of be that middle team. Maybe he turns into a great player here, sell him on as an asset later, but he's pretty exciting for a young kid to be productive at that age and have appearances like that at that age. They got this midfielder from Rennes in France. He hasn't played a ton. His name's Hamzat Ajitaran. He's just kind of like a destroyer 6, classic mauler, hold down the back end of the midfield. He played a lot in the Hungarian first division and did pretty well there. Obviously, that's tough to compare, but he's a guy that has been scouted pretty well, and should be an interesting, definitely a position in need. They haven't really had a 6 like that since Jack Price, right? So that's like exciting for the fans that maybe this is the guy. They've had some names that could have been the guy and never was the guy. And then obviously, Bryce Jamison's the other guy they got last summer. He plays for the youth national teams, gotten some caps in the Youth World Cups. He's a winger, pretty exciting from Orange County. Definitely big ceiling on him. Dante Seeley, they spent $2 million in GAM to get him from Montreal, which seemed like a pretty big price tag, right?
Right.
Huge price tag.
Yeah. What are your opinions on that? Because I thought that was a good get.
See, I don't watch a ton of East, granted, but
Right.
the things I've seen, he's a good set piece taker, has a great left foot, can play sort of that inverted wing, right? Go from the
He
right.
was the man for them in the second half of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he had 9 goals last year. I mean, so
yeah.
Again, this is a expensive upside play, right? Where if it works, it's worth it, right? If he, I feel like the ceiling is either you greatly outperform that $2 million spent or you greatly underperform that $2 million spent. It's hard to get the value there, right? So it's either you paid a lot now and it's worth it, or you paid a lot now and you're left holding the bag, right? So
no, I get it.
And then the biggest one's obviously their coach, right? Matt Wells,
Yeah.
who comes over as the lead assistant from Tottenham Hotspurs, coached under just a handful of legendary managers, maybe not legendary, but good established managers. He's worked under a lot of them. He's young. He's 37. And he just is bringing a new kind of, Chris Armas, I think, had some good things, especially because when he went over there and was managing at Manchester United or not managing, but, assistant coaching at Manchester United and Leeds. And he brought over a lot of stuff, kind of helped turn it around from that very old school Robin Fraser American soccer, right? Kind of help bring it up to pace with how the rest of the world's operating in training and film and scouting and all that. And it's exciting to see what Wells can do coming from Spurs like that.
Well, what have you heard as far as the way that Wells will be playing? How is the team going to look as far as, the formation just tactically?
I'm thinking it's going to be along the lines of a 4-2-3-1-ish is our best guess. You don't get a lot of views from preseason. It's tough to say, right? But he did go and get that 6 Hamzat in the back. Paxton Aronson has talked a lot about dropping deeper, not so much playing a 10, more of an 8. So we'll see how he does. He's definitely a high intensity coach. All the talk, if you talk to anyone around, anyone that had any knowledge of what was going on at the club going into preseason, is he's going to run them into the ground, right? They're going to run. He wants to control games physically, control games defense first with pace, pressure, relentless attack defensively. And then they have a lot of speed up top to sort of, if your defense is successful, and there's plenty of question marks there we can talk about, but if their defense is successful, I do think that counterattack is going to open up nicely under how he wants to play the game.
I don't know. I didn't mean for this to be just coincidentally my next topic.
Sure.
But what do you think of Zach Steffen? Because I was going to ask you what the most overrated player on the team is, and I don't think it's Zach Steffen. But what's your opinion on Zach Steffen before we get into overrated player?
I mean, look, when Zach is good, he's as good as anybody in the league, right? Like his best night in between the pipes, I'll put it up against anyone in MLS, right? Like
for sure
when he's on. I don't think he's had the best defense in front of him, right? Like, fair. I don't think he's truly had a great center back combination. Obviously, losing Moise Bombito a couple summers ago is tough because he was so athletic, so fast. He could they could play the highest line you possibly see, right? And then he could come back and help recover. He's been left on a lot of islands, but I think you could do a lot worse than Zach Steffen, right? And
for sure,
he's such a marketable guy. Like, as much as it hurts to lose Cole Bassett, it's not like a lot of people know Cole Bassett outside of Colorado even. Great, maybe MLS guys know the name or know him, but not on like a get someone to be a spokesperson for something level, right? And Zach Steffen, known through US soccer and his time at Manchester City and how much he's played, in big games on TV. They give him a face to the club that maybe doesn't exist right now. So
speaking of marketability, was there any truth like to James Rodriguez possibly going over there?
No, I don't think so. That's not. I don't see Borg Smith spending the money to get a guy to come in for
6
what's he gonna
months.
say, like 8 or less, right? Like he's just
Yeah.
gonna leave probably after the World Cup.
World Cup.
So,
If he has a World Cup showing, a good World Cup showing, I think he will be leaving.
right. So I see Portsmouth's when it comes to chances like that, I think he'd rather take it on a young guy that you can flip for a bigger,
For sure.
payday down the line. I would like it, but no, I don't think there was ever any danger of him coming to Commerce City.
I didn't see it, even though Navajo needs it. Would you say that there's an overrated player on your team?
I don't know. I mean, that was a tough when I was looking through the notes for this. That was kind of the one I stuck on the most because, I think what the Rapids have done a good job of is getting a roster full of guys who are good enough to be MLS rotation guys, right? And I don't think they've really overspent. Obviously, Seeley's like a big price tag there, but like,
right.
I don't know like who you could even be like, well, he's way overrated because I don't know who talks about the Rapids in a way to hype any particular player up.
It's
right
usually
now,
the DPs that people talk about like that.
Paxton Aronson is young, right? Like he's pretty young. He didn't do a lot in those few games he was here coming over from Germany. I think he has like the classic rough end to his first, chunk of season and then have an off season and come in and I think he'll be fine.
Right.
Navarro's a good scorer, right? He's a good 13 to 15 goals, and then a few assists. And it's just tough for me to say anyone's really overrated because I don't think anyone really rates the Rapids.
Rated, yeah, I get that. No, I know it. Today's been a rough go because, like I said, we've been previewing all the bottom of the table teams. And that's a very common answer. But what I have been getting a lot of answers for is players to watch for. People maybe don't watch the Colorado Rapids on a regular basis. So if they are going to tune in and just randomly stumble upon a Colorado Rapids game, is there a player that you would say, look out for this guy, he might surprise you?
I mean, definitely Lucas Harrington, who I mentioned earlier, the Australian kid, the center back. If he's getting minutes, he's just so big. Like, he's so athletic. He's so instinctive. He's good in the box with a head offensively or defensively. He's physical. And the fact that he's already played so much, even if it's the A-League, I don't think the A-League's a bad league by any stretch. It's obviously not, playing in Europe or Brazil or something like that, but he's at a young age, he's played. So I don't know. I'm excited about him. And then probably Darren Yappy, who last year, he's a young kid, homegrown. I think he's 21. He's been playing for parts of 4 seasons. He's, he didn't get a goal his first year. Diego Rubio was hurt. He played a lot, didn't score. I think he played almost 1,800 minutes. Breaks the ice the year after. And then last year, 7 goals, a couple assists. Didn't start every game, but started a lot of games. He's comfortable outside, comfortable kind of playing either above or in front of Navajo, right? Like they've created some good 1-2 moments. And he scores really clutch goals. He scores really late goals. He had what looked like a big winner against LAFC late last year. They ended up giving up the equalizer in extra time, but he just has come up really clutch. He scored in that big Leagues Cup run a couple years ago. And then Bryce Jamison too. There's a lot of wingers that, Teddy DiPietro, we haven't even mentioned him. He's out on the wing. They have a kid from who was playing in Argentina, Alexis Manyoma. So there's like probably 4 or 5 wingers that if you told me any 2 of them were starting, I wouldn't be surprised. And so that to me is like the most interesting thing about this team is that they're going to need goals, right? Losing Georgie last year, losing Cole Bassett. You're going to need goals. You got to figure out who's going to get them. And they have probably 4 or 5 wingers that I'd be like, oh, cool. He's starting. Let's go. Like, let's figure it out. So if it's kind of might be cheating, but I think the winger group is the player to watch because we're not really sure who it's going to be.
And Dante Seeley was a fullback that converted, a wing back that converted to a full winger. And so that's going to be interesting how they utilize him. So what are the expectations for the Colorado Rapids as far as the fan standpoint goes?
I would say pretty low, if I'm being honest. Last year was rough. I don't know. Obviously they're not in the market for like these splash signings, right? You're not getting your Jamez's or your Sons or your, whoever. They're not getting those guys that are instant raisers up to the top 4 or 5, 4 spots, 3 spots in the conference. That being said, if Wells is such a question mark that it could be great, right? And I, it's tough for me to predict, but I just think there's a lot of ifs, right? Like they have to figure out that center back spot next to Rob Holding. Is it Harrington? Is it Noah Cobb? Is it Ian Murphy? Is it someone who isn't even here yet while the window's still open? Is Sam Vines good enough to hold up at left back for a season? We don't know. Like there's so many ifs. Who's going to score in the wing? Who's starting next to Paxton in the midfield? There's probably 3 or 4 guys there too. And there's just so much ifs that it's tough for me to think anyone's like picking them to host a playoff game, right? Like, or be the higher seed in a playoff series.
Shout out to Adam DC for the Super Slam. Is Zach Steffen still the starting goalkeeper?
Oh, 100%. He got hurt last year a couple times, went away on for Copa America and was behind freeze. He got hurt in training with the US team. And this kid, Nico Hansen, who I think he was on Houston 2, right? Next pro team, bounced around, and he was electric. Like he was awesome, and no one had ever heard of him or seen him play, or like, he was a 3rd keeper on the roster, which is tough to keep 3 keepers, right? And he started over Adam Beaudry, who started in Youth World Cups for the US Youth National Team, and he was great. So, Steffen's definitely the starter, but if he gets hurt, there's 2 really good options on the bench.
All right, and then I was talking to, I think you might have heard Chris earlier. We're the Batter Fans Network. We're all Batter fans at some point or another. You're a Denver fan. You've had your moments.
100%.
So just starting with Colorado Rapids, and then you can give me another one, just because I know you follow all your sports teams. Colorado Rapids, is there a battered moment that you would say, like, what the hell just happened?
Oh yeah, 2021. I don't know if you remember 2021 on decision day. They get the 1 seed at home. Great game. They get the 1 seed. They win the West, going into the playoffs. It was electric. They had, right, there wasn't one guy, though. It didn't have like a 50, they've never had a 20 goal scorer. They've never had a 17 goal scorer, right? They haven't done it that way. And 21 was sort of the epitome of that, where you had Rubio and Mikey Barrios and Jonathan Lewis and Jack Price and all these guys kind of contributing when they needed it to get these big wins down the stretch. They host a playoff game on Thanksgiving Day. It's Timbers. It's a big rivalry. They're the 1 seed. Sell out on Thanksgiving, national TV. Huge game. It's 0-0 late. Portland gets a red card, and then they get the winner in stoppage time. And so Rapids lose at home.
I don't remember that. I remember the Timbers made it to the MLS Cup final that year.
Yeah, and I think
remember that.
And then obviously the next couple years after that were just an absolute disaster. And it's just it's been tough to that was such a peak, and they were so close. They're right there, and yeah, I think people are going to remember that for a long time.
All right, and then just in general, Denver, because I know you're a big sports guy.
Yeah, I mean, how about you are the 1 seed with your young quarterback, the 6th quarterback taken in that draft. He's balling. People are putting Drake May over him in MVP conversations. We saw how that worked.
I know what you're about to say. Okay, yeah.
You beat Josh Allen at home. Everybody's excited, and then about 20 minutes later, he's out for the season with a broken ankle.
I know, he doesn't even get carted off the field. Like
No.
Yeah.
And then we have to watch that abomination of a Patriots team losing the Super Bowl like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we would have done it. That Seahawks defense was really good, but I think our defense is good enough to mess with Sam Darnold more than they were. And obviously I'm a Nuggets fan, right? It took until 2023 for us, right? Yeah. So there's a million Nuggets examples, million Rockies examples. I'm not even going to get started on the Rockies, but
the Rockies. 08, right? Was the year?
It was 07. It was my senior year of high school. It was super fun. I was at game 163, which was, obviously the play at home with Holiday and the slide. It was electric. I choose to think about that and not about basically every year since.
No, well, the Avalanche.
They're looking good. They're looking really good.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx you.
They what's so nice about Colorado right now, not speaking as a Rapids fan, just as a Colorado sports fan, is
Yeah.
you have McKinnon and McCarr on the Fs. You have Jokic, right? We have a quarterback in Denver for the first time in how long? You get Lindsey Heaps to Denver Summit FC, to the new NWSL team, the captain of the U.S. Women's National Team. She's from my hometown. She's a few miles from where I live right now, and she's here to play for the team. And it's so exciting. You have all these big players, and I think the battered part of being a Rapids guy is you're looking around like, like
one.
John in Pulp Fiction, like, where's our guy? Like, what are we like?
But you know what? Like,
to kind of, to kind of match what these other teams are doing.
But you know what? I think that it's going to be more common to see better players, right? A little more known players, especially. I mean, Wells comes from Tottenham. Like, he might bring somebody over. Like, I don't think it's that far fetched to think that you might get somebody.
Harry Kane, retirement tour.
Yeah, I don't know about Harry Kane.
Well, yeah, we'll give him
that'd be cool.
To Bayern, and when he wants to come cash in and do the late stage MLS thing, we're ready for you, baby. Let's go.
Hey, that Bayern trio right now is killing it.
Yeah, they're doing great. The Wells thing is interesting, man. I worry that it's sort of like what we saw in Minnesota, right? Where you have a guy who comes in and does really well. And then goes back. For those teams that didn't hire him at the level he thinks he should be at, to be like, okay, come on, right? Like, could a championship team grab him next year? Right. Yeah, I mean, he could if he does really well. I hope that he does. If he does well enough to get hired away, I will be happy, because that means the Rapids had a good season and not a season that I expect to be frustrating, fighting for play in maybe low playoffs, right? So,
yeah, I could see that, and I already saw that there's some people from Tottenham that are going to be watching the Colorado. So, that's always cool.
Yeah. Obviously MLS think, Apple dropping the extra package, right? And so
might help.
I think you're going to see some more exposure. I know there's one Twitter account, I think it's just called Colorado Rapids Fans, but it's this kid from Spain. He just lives in Spain. I'm not even sure where, but shout him out. And I'm like, I don't know how you became a Rapids fan and how you have a whole account dedicated to the Rapids from there, but like, that's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I don't know how many more international people are watching besides maybe players' families or something like that, but it's cool to see, and hopefully that kind of elevates it a little bit, right?
That is very cool. And actually, I had one question here.
Yeah.
Have him explain the colorful jersey.
The jersey?
Yeah, the colorful jersey. No.
Oh, no, this is
Colorado's.
There's a scarf.
No, the Colorado, the new kit for 2026 is called the colorful jersey. But it feels like it lacks color, so it's kind of ironic that it's called a colorful jersey.
So, number one, so Colorado, when you drive into Colorado, I-70, 25 are basically the two big ones, right? The ones that go across the country in either direction. There's these big hand-painted signs, and they say, "Welcome to colorful Colorado." Right? Like that's what you see when you enter the state.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so the colorful Colorado part is the neckline, right? Is all the the core brand colors they've had sort of in order, right? So there's like a green, like from this one, a white, a blue, a burgundy, and then maybe there's one more that I'm missing, but I can't think of right now. Oh, yellow from when they had it almost has like the Columbia yellow. They had like a Colorado State flag yellow one, and so that is the colorful Colorado part. I'm not, they've had a black diamond kit before for the skiing, obviously the black diamond kit, and it was white. So like, they're not great at the naming part. They did donate, I think, 10,000 soccer balls to high school teams across the state, which is pretty cool. And they're doing, every time they launch something like the scarf behind me was from a couple of kids ago, and it was like a whole mental health thing. They were donating to mental health resources in the Denver metro area. They always nail that part, like the last the Headwaters kit, the one that kind of looks like a Brita filter with the water on the front that they're wearing right now. That went to water conservation charities and stuff. And so they're always good at that part. They're just terrible at the naming part because they called it Colorful Colorado and it's black.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Like, what? Colorful? Nobody got it. Okay.
Now,
So
for the most part, though, like, who remembers all those names, though? Right? Like, I think
when they're that ironic, they might.
Yeah, well, that's true. This one they probably will. But for the most part, it's like, remember that black kit? Oh, remember the Waters kit? Remember the yellow kit that they had? Remember, and I think that tends to be more what's remembered in a few years, right? Like, but yeah, can't. I'm not gonna defend the naming. I do like it. I think it's a nice kit, especially. I think it's gonna be good to wear, right? Like, it's gonna be nice to have.
Absolutely,
it's like a very wearable from our perspective kit,
right?
Black with a nice little pop of color on the.
I love.
Yeah,
I love when a jersey is just kind of plain, but then it has that accent color that kind of pops. I think it's nice. It's just very odd name.
Well, it's tough to be the Burgundy boys and not have really much burgundy. The burgundy is the Adidas stripes, and that's really it.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's tough. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mitchell, I appreciate you taking the time to join. Please let everybody know where they could find you if they want more Colorado talk, and not just Colorado Rapids. You do all the gambit.
Absolutely, yeah. Commerce City Radio. We're a podcast. You can find us where you get your podcasts. It's follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We just started those, so you're not going to see a ton of stuff on those. But it's me and it's Braden Nurse, who's the beat writer for the Denver Post here. So me and him, we've been covering the team for a few years together. I left DNVR over a year ago, and so we wanted to do something that was just us. And so we do that once a week. Sometimes we have guests from around the Rapids sphere. Mostly it's just us. It's usually about somewhere between an hour 15, hour 45 of us just going deep on whatever's going on, and then some extra, movies or sports that aren't related to the Rapids whatsoever, and kind of just bullshitting a lot. And it's a really good time. So definitely check that out.
I appreciate you, Mitchell, especially for jumping on a couple minutes earlier. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Likewise. All right. And now, Mitchell, like I said, jumped on a few minutes earlier because we had a Houston guest that has kind of gone MIA. So I appreciate Mitchell for jumping on a couple minutes early and kind of just shooting the shit with me because, there was a lot of gas bagging because he was not supposed to get on that early. Like I said, we had a Houston guest. Houston didn't show up. And now coming up, we have LA Galaxy, who is also not showing up. Now, I will tell you, the hardest part of doing this is the scheduling. It's definitely not easy to get everybody, one, scheduled, and two, getting everybody in here, because everybody's busy doing their own thing. So we do appreciate everybody that did jump on. And I think I'm going to have to call it a night, unfortunately, because Houston didn't show up and the Galaxy hasn't showed up. They were supposed to be here at 11:30. We're at 11:37. So I'm going to assume that is it for tonight. I apologize for only being able to give you 3 Western Conference teams, and we'll see how we can make up that later on in the week. If you listen on audio, appreciate you listening to the end. Please leave 5 stars and a comment. If you watch on YouTube, like and subscribe. And we will be back tomorrow, hopefully with the slew of the guests. Hopefully we can get them all to come in tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. And shout out to Dennis. We're actually doing San Jose tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be covering San Jose at 10:15, Dennis. So, and then Boss Daddy saying Galaxy already starting the season with a fail. Yeah, I mean, last season was difficult. But whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And until the next one, have a good one.